There was this play, week 6 or something, Travis Kelce caught a shallow cross, turned upfield, and got absolutely stonewalled by a safety half his size. No burst, no fight, just hit the ground and stayed there. That's when I knew he was cooked. I just didn't want to believe it. Not until the Super Bowl, where he went 4 for 39 with everything on the line and nothing left to give. He's going off the board in the 8th round, right between Stephon Diggs and Jaden Reed, and somehow that still doesn't feel low enough. Because the volume's still there, the name still carries weight, and logic still says he's Mahomes' guy. Just buy the dip. But I watched it and it still didn't look like Travis Kelce. And we kept calling it a dip when the truth was the cliff already happened. We just didn't want to be the ones who saw it first. So now we're just sitting here telling ourselves this is a discount and trying to forget what it looked like when the floor disappeared. I keep telling myself there's no such thing as a safe pick anymore, but Travis Kelce used to be the exception. And maybe that's what's messing with me, because when you scroll through the 8th round, you pass the rookies, you reach Stephon Diggs, and then you see Kelce. And it just doesn't feel like a steal. It feels like the name just hasn't caught up yet to reality. But here's the part that I can't shake. Last year when Rashee Rice was healthy, Kelce had a 14% target share. 14. You can't fake that. You can't blame touchdowns. That's not Mahomes being off. That's just not being the focal point anymore. And the moment that Rice tore his LCL, season ending, done for the year, Kelce's usage spiked again. But not because he earned it, because there was no one else left. And they rebuilt this entire wide receiver room. Obviously they didn't have Hollywood Brown most of last year, but they will this year. The emergence of Xavier Worthy towards the end of last year was definitely a big deal. But the bigger deal might be that they don't need Kelce to be what he was before. That target hog that never seemed to go down. But that's pretty much what we lost last year, and that's not noise, that's signal. And it kept showing up everywhere. His 8 yards per catch was by far the lowest of his career. He wasn't creating separation, he wasn't producing yards after the catch, and every reception looked like a stopgap. And when you combine that with just 3 touchdowns on the year, you start to realize how fragile the whole thing really was. He didn't finish as a tight end 6 because he was still elite. He finished as a tight end 6 because the position gets collapsed around him. It was an absolute disaster, and Kelce just fell slower than the rest. But now that floor that we used to have with Kelce is completely gone. The rookies have some juice, and the mid-rounds, they're pretty loaded. Kelce's not that outlier anymore. It's closer to a memory, if anything, and I'm scared that we're drafting him like it isn't. The thing that finally hit me was realizing the Chiefs knew before we did. Going into last year, you don't sign Hollywood Brown, you don't spend a first-round pick on Xavier Worthy and reshape this entire passing offense from scratch. The narrative before was that this wide receiver core in general was not very good and that they needed to get Mahomes some help. But what if the Chiefs were making peace that Travis Kelce just isn't that guy anymore? That he can't be that guy? Maybe it wasn't a decline, it was a transition, and we just missed it. Maybe that's why Mahomes didn't force him the ball. And once I saw it that way, the Super Bowl line, 4 for 39 on 46 attempts, didn't look like an off game. It looked more like a confirmation, because when it mattered most, Travis Kelce didn't earn targets. And that's when it finally felt real. Maybe the clip wasn't coming, maybe we already lived through it. I keep staring at his name and it doesn't look wrong, but that's what scares me, because everything in my body still wants to believe it. That he's the exception, that he's the one tight end who can beat time. But in fantasy football, that's not how the cliff gets you. Not when the numbers go first, when the belief doesn't. And I know how this ends. You draft Travis Kelce thinking that he's a flex cheat code in round 8, and then he turns into Zach Ertz on a better offense. Not washed, just kind of useless for fantasy. Forgettable, like that's the fear. Not that you miss on the bounce back, but that you're holding the bag too long and burn a pick pretending this era isn't over. So no, I'm not rooting for the fall, but if it's already happening, I'd rather be the guy who let go too early than the one who couldn't let go at all.